Welcome to Episode 7 of Run the Length. My opponent this week is Zachary Gray. Zach is ranked 20th in the United States at the time of this recording and is on the United States WTC team alongside Pat Van Value and Jared McGraw. In this game, I asked Zach to play some of the newly released Hunter models, so they are still unpainted. Terrain on this board is 2 obstructions to the top, then moving down we have a forest, another obstruction, a barrier, and fast ground in the bottom right. We select plots. I was dealt wingback, field dressing, good marker, who are ya, and knee slider. The plots I selected are knee slider, who are ya, and field dressing. Who are ya and knee slider are S tier plots, and I take them nearly every time I can. Good marker is only okay here, and wingback is fairly strong. I ultimately go with field dressing, knowing that multiple conditions are going to be handed out during the game. Zach's plots are brace for impact, man marking, and sick'em. This game was recorded the day that the organized play document was updated, so we decided to use those rules. The roster has been expanded to 10 players, and you reveal captains and mascots simultaneously before the draft. My 10 are Midas, Smoke, Flask, Vitriol, Harry, Catalyst, Compound, Calculus, Crucible, and Veteran Catalyst. For this game I added VetCat back in. He's here largely to bluff, since I feel that Catalyst is so much better. Zach's roster is Skatha, Theron, Snow, Chaska, Vet Hearn, Jakar, Cena, Ulfer, Zerola, and Avarice and Greed. We both simultaneously reveal captains. I select Smoke and Flask, while Zach selects Skatha and Snow. I think that from a competitive perspective, Midas is the drop here, but I really enjoy Smoke and have been meaning to play her more on Run the Length. Zach wins the roll and chooses to kick, selecting the left side. I draft Vitriol. Zach selects Jakar. I go Harry. So far none of these picks are out of the ordinary. Harry and Vitriol are super strong, and Jakar is one of the best players in Hunters. Zach picks Veteran Hearn. I'm excited to see this guy on the field. It feels like he will kind of play the Theron role on the team, handing out range snared when needed. I pick Calculus. I have a hard time playing Smoke without Calculus. Blind is incredibly good, and you need AoEs to make use of Smoke's abilities. The pick also allows me to disguise which catalyst I'm bringing. Zach picks Ulfer for more ball handling ability. I think this pick is a bit of a mistake, since most players I have that will carry the ball are not really threatened by Ulfer. I pick Catalyst. I've been pretty vocal about my dislike for VetCat. I feel the only reason to play him is to enable the 2-1 game, but against the Skatha team, I feel like I'm heavily favored in the attrition matchup, so Catalyst is a better pick. Zach picks Avarice and Greed. I like this pick. It gives him a long goal threat on top of another way to threaten Midas. Zach deploys tight in the middle of the pitch with Skatha kicking. From top to bottom he has Jakar, Vet Hearn, Snow, Skatha, Avarice and Greed, then at the bottom he has Ulfer. I deploy spread out with Catalyst at the top. Moving down we have Harry, Calculus, Smoke, Flask, and Vitriol. Zach kicks the ball towards the bottom of the screen and fails the kick, so he is stuck wherever the ball scatters. The ball ends up between Flask and Vitriol. I allocate. I place 2 on Harry, 3 on Calculus, 4 on Smoke, 4 on Vitriol, and none on Flask or Catalyst. I've misallocated a bit here. There is no reason to place 4 on Vitriol, but on the other hand, the rule I have for playing Smoke is not to commit Catalyst too early, and doing this is made easier if he has no influence on him. The plan for this turn is to put out some early condition pressure and take the last activation goal if possible, then win the momentum race and go for a second one. Zach allocates. He places 6 on Skatha, 3 on Hearn, 1 on Snow, and 3 on Avarice. Zach has set up for some kickoff pressure with Skatha, which is a new tactic Hunters just gained access to. I activate Flask and drop a smoke cloud, then jog and pick up the ball and drop it to where Vitriol, who is outside of Skatha's 14-inch threat range. Zach activates Snow and uses Feral Instincts to give Anatomical to Skatha. I activate Catalyst and jog him up to the cover. Zach activates Ulfer and jogs him to cover. I activate Vitriol and place a cloud on her and Flask. Then I sprint over toward the goal and kick the ball to Calculus. The kick is good, and I use the Harry aura to dodge her outside of Scatha's threat. This placement is a bit of a mistake, but I'm not going to get into why, since the next activation explains it pretty well. Zach activates Scatha. Scatha places fast terrain in front of the wall. Scatha makes a snowball and passes it to Ulfr. The kick is good, and she dodges 4 inches around the wall towards Harry. Scatha charges Harry. Harry declares a counter. Scatha wraps by 2 and does a momentous double dodge and a momentous dodge, giving her 3 inches of dodge and 2 momentum. Scatha dodges out of Harry's melee range and into Calculus. She takes poison from Calculus's aura and buys an attack on her and only gets 1 hit, failing to tackle the ball. She takes a momentous dodge and attacks Calculus with her last influence, taking the ball with a momentous tackle. When I placed Calculus, I didn't consider that Scatha could reliably bounce off Harry and get to Calculus. I got very lucky here that he didn't score a goal on me. I activate Harry and go crazy. I jog over to Scatha and attack her doing a momentous push, pulling her out of cover. I attack with Harry again and do a momentous push again and choose not to move her. I want to heal Harry here, but if I do, I might lose the die roll to go first, so I can't really afford to do it. Zach activates Veteran Hearn and sprints. He gains +2/+2 move from hitting the rough ground due to light-footed and Winter's Blessing. He ends just within 6 inches of Catalyst and uses Skewered. Zach hits it and deals 3 damage and snares Catalyst. The activation order is awkward here because I want to build momentum and get the ball away from Scatha, but if we do that with Calculus, we will take the ball behind our line and lose the ability to gain momentum. I decide to activate Smoke and jog her to base contact with Scatha. I buy an attack and do a momentous push, but we don't move her. We swing again and do another momentous push. Our third attack, we only get 1 hit and we do 1 damage. Our final attack also does 1 damage. Zach activates Jakar and jogs him forward. I activate Calculus. I buy a swing at Scatha, dealing 1 momentous damage. I swing again, dealing 1 momentous damage again. My final attack does momentous 1 damage. Zach activates Avarice and Greed. Avarice picks up Greed and sprints up the pitch, then drops Greed. This ends the turn. Alchemists lead the momentum race 7-3. I win the initiative roll and choose to go first. Conditions tick down on Catalyst and Scatha. I move to allocation. I place 4 on Catalyst, 4 on Harry, 3 on Mist, 1 on Calculus, and 1 on Vitriol. The plan here is to put Scatha down and then take a shot on goal with Smoke late in the turn. Zach allocates. He places 1 on Scatha, 1 on Ulfr, 3 on Avarice, 1 on Greed, 3 on Vet Hearn, 4 on Jakar. I activate Catalyst. I charge Scatha with Catalyst. Zach declares no reactions. I do 2 damage knockdown. The ball scatters all the way to the back of the table, nearly rolling off of it. I take Catalyst's second attack and do a momentous external combustion. I take Catalyst's last attack and wrap by 1, dealing momentous external and momentous push. This kills Scatha, bringing the score to 2-0. Catalyst shakes conditions. Zach activates Snow and jogs him forward, covering both Avarice and Hearn with his aura. I activate Calculus and pick up the ball, then pass it to Smoke. Smoke uses Harry's aura to dodge for free. Zach activates Ulfr and sprints him toward my team, leaving him outside of Harry's threat range. I activate Flask and jog into melee with Ulfr, then he pops Smoke. Zach activates Hearn and sprints him up to get in the way of Smoke's goal, then uses Skewered to snare and damage Smoke. I activate Vitriol and jog over to Ulfr and take a swing, declaring hidden damage. We get 3 successes and decide to do a momentous push dodge to try to get Ulfr back in range of Harry. Zach activates Jakar, sprints him forward, and drops his trap in front of Smoke. After the trap placement, I'm very worried that Smoke is no longer in goal range due to the fact that it looks like I'm going to have to trigger Jakar's trap. I measure it out, and if I take the trap, I'm about an inch short. So I check to see if we can walk around the trap, and we just barely can. So I decide to activate Smoke and remove conditions, then sprint around the trap, place a smoke cloud, and use Cloud Jumper to place Smoke inside it. Then I take a kick on goal, but I miss it, rolling 4 1s. The ball ends up stopping right in front of the goal. Zach activates Avarice and Greed. Avarice picks up Greed and walks to base contact with Smoke, and I Unpredictable away. By proccing Unpredictable, Zach forces Smoke out of the cover. Avarice drops Greed in melee with Smoke, and Greed buys an attack. I choose not to counterattack. Greed deals 1 momentous damage. Greed's second attack deals momentous 2 damage. Greed's third attack does momentous 1, and his last attack does momentous 2, taking Smoke down to 7 HP. I activate Harry and use Crazy. I charge Ulfer. Zach declares defensive stance and plays the plot card Brace for Impact. Brace for Impact gives Ulfer Tough Hide and Stoic. My dice spike really hard and I do momentous 3 damage knockdown. The damage is reduced to 2 from Tough Hide. Harry attacks again and wraps by 2, doing 3 damage double push, momentous, and momentous double push. I choose not to push so as not to lose gang ups. I take Harry's final attack and deal 3 damage momentously. I spend a momentum to heal Harry. This makes the next initiative roll fairly dicey, but I feel that Harry is just too fragile at 13 hit points. This ends the turn. Catalyst lights himself back on fire. The Alchemists lead the momentum race 6-4. I win the initiative roll. Catalyst takes 1 damage. I allocate. I place 4 on Harry, 4 on Catalyst, and 5 on Smoke. The plan here is to take the goal with Smoke as my first activation, since it seems likely that the ball will be somewhere completely different and I will lose my goal. Beyond that, we are going to kill Ulfer and try to mess up Jakar or Hearn. Zach allocates. He walks Skatha back on the board, and she is in range to pick up the ball, a glaring oversight by me when I allocated. There is also an interesting rule call out here. Zach picks up the ball with her when she walks out, but is worried that he will lose the going second momentum since he will have the ball behind the line. But page 20 of the rulebook states that you gain the momentum in the initiative phase, before he would have picked up the ball. He places 1 on Skatha, 4 on Jakar, 1 on Ulfer, 3 on Avarice, 1 on Greed, and 3 on Hearn. After seeing that Skatha has the ball, I decide to activate Harry, realizing that getting the ball off of Skatha is nearly impossible. Harry uses Crazy and swings on Ulfer, dealing 3 momentous damage. His second swing does momentous 2 damage. His third swing deals momentous 3, killing Ulfer, bringing the score to 4-0. Harry sprints to within 8 inches of Smoke and spends 2 momentum to heal her. He then heals himself. Zach activates Skatha and walks to base with Smoke. I choose not to use Unpredictable. Skatha buys an attack on Smoke, doing a momentous dodge. I activate Smoke and walk out of Greed's melee range. His parting blow does 3 damage. I attack Skatha, doing 1 damage. Smoke's second swing does 1 damage. Smoke's third attack does 1 damage. I declare Smoke's fourth attack, and Zach counterattacks, knowing that if I don't have the ball after this attack, I can't take the goal. Smoke tackles the ball, Skatha's counterattack fails to tackle the ball back, and deals 1 damage to Smoke. Smoke shoots on goal with a 3-die tap-in, and gets it. The score is now 8-0. I play Knee Slider and dodge Smoke into the forest. Zach kicks out the ball, and it scatters right to Greed. Zach activates Snow, and he jogs base to base with Smoke. I choose not to Unpredictable. I activate Flask and place a cloud on Vitriol, then Flask jogs towards the middle of the pitch. Zach activates Avarice and Greed. Avarice picks up Greed and sprints to base with Smoke. I Unpredictable out of both Snow and Avarice's melee range, but I am careful to stay in the cover. Avarice drops Greed, and Greed attacks Smoke, doing 1 momentous damage. Greed's second attack does 1 momentous damage. Greed's final swing does another 1 momentous damage. I activate Calculus and jog her up the pitch, hoping to get her active in the game again. Zach activates Jakar and charges Smoke. Smoke is dead no matter what I do, since she is sitting on just 4 health, so I declare no reactions. The charge does momentous 2 damage. Jakar attacks again and does momentous 1. Jakar takes his last attack, dealing momentous 2 damage and a double dodge. This kills Smoke, bringing the score to 8-2. I think this is a pretty large mistake. What he should have done was left her on 1 and killed her with Jakar as his first activation of the next turn, to rob me of her for the rest of that turn. I look at the table and I realize that Catalyst can't get to anyone now that Jakar left, so I activate Vitriol and trigger the trap so that Cat can get to Hearn. Vitriol then clears conditions. Zach activates Hearn. Hearn jogs over to Harry and declares an attack. I have no momentum, so I can't counter. Hearn does Momentous Knockdown. Hearn attacks again and does Momentous 3. I gain 2 momentum from Harry's Rising Anger. Hearn's last attack does 2 non-momentous damage. Hearn spends 2 momentum to heal Scatha. I activate Catalyst and sprint towards Hearn. Then, seeing that I can't win initiative, I spend my last 2 to stand Harry. This ends the turn. Hunters lead the momentum race 8-0, and Zach wins the initiative without a die roll. Catalyst takes 1 damage from fire. Zach allocates. Zach jogs on Ulfr. He places 2 on Scatha, 4 on Jakar, 3 on Avarice, 1 on Greed, 3 on Hearn, 2 on Scatha. I allocate. I jog Smoke back on the pitch. I place 2 on Smoke, 1 on Calculus, 3 on Vitriol, 4 on Catalyst, and 4 on Harry. Zach activates Jakar and charges Harry. I declare a defensive stance. The attack does Momentous 2 double dodge. I gain 2 momentum off of Harry's Rising Anger. Jakar attacks again. I declare a counter. The attack does 2 damage and a double dodge. Jakar dodges into base contact. I bonus time the counterattack and do a double push and push Jakar out of melee with Harry. Jakar drops a trap next to Harry, then uses back to the shadows to dodge to cover. I activate Catalyst. I jog Catalyst to base with Hearn and attack. The attack does knockdown and external combustion. I attack again and do Momentous Push. I take my 3rd attack and get Momentous External. I use it to push Hearn to max melee range. Catalyst takes his final attack and wraps by 1, doing Momentous External and Momentous Push. I use the results to push him over near Harry. I heal Catalyst and Harry with momentum. Zach activates Hearn, shakes conditions, and attacks Harry. I decide not to counterattack. The attack does Momentous Knockdown. Hearn attacks Catalyst and I declare a counter. Hearn does a Momentous Knockdown. Zach sprints Hearn away. I think that taking the counterattack was a huge mistake, since now I have no momentum to use to stand Harry up. I activate Vitriol and place a cloud on herself and Catalyst, then sprint to Hearn and attack. I hit Momentous Clone and pass the turn back. Zach activates Ulfr and jogs him closer to Smoke. I activate Smoke and sprint towards Avarice. Smoke pops Legendary and places her 2 clouds, one on Greed, Snow, and Avarice, and the other on Ulfr. Smoke spends her last influence to shift one of the clouds she just made to poison Greed, Snow, and Avarice. Scatha activates, makes a snowball, and passes it to Hearn. The pass is good, and Hearn dodges 4 inches away. I activate Flask and trigger the trap, taking Snare and Bleed on Flask. Zach activates Snow and jogs him over to cover Hearn in the aura. I activate Harry and remove conditions. I jog him over to Jakar and go crazy. Harry attacks Jakar and gets a Momentous Knockdown. Harry attacks again and does 2 damage Momentous Double Push. Harry's 3rd attack does 2 damage Momentous Double Push. Harry's last attack does 2 damage Momentous Double Push. I remove conditions on Catalyst. Zach activates Avarice and Greed. Avarice picks up Greed and sprints, then drops Greed. Greed sprints, then uses Where'd They Go to get inside of tap-in range. Greed takes the shot on goal and hits a screamer. The score is now 8-6. I kick out the ball just past Greed, hoping that I can get it on Calculus and kick it to Catalyst. I activate Calculus and she jogs to pick up the ball, then kicks it to Catalyst. This ends the turn. Alchemists lead the momentum race 3-2. I win the initiative roll and choose to go first. Flask takes bleed damage, Catalyst takes 1 from fire, and Avarice and Snow take 2 from poison. I allocate. I place 4 on Catalyst, 4 on Harry, 1 on Calculus, 4 on Vitriol. In my hurry, I forget to allocate my goal influence. The plan here is to score with Catalyst, and we have allocated to people in the area in case that plan fails. Zach allocates. He places 4 on Jakar, 3 on Veteran Hearn, 4 on Ulfr, 2 on Avarice, 1 on Greed. I activate Catalyst. I need to sprint so that I can get into range of the goal. Then Catalyst attacks Snow and does a momentous knockdown. Catalyst takes his second swing and does a momentous external, lighting Skatha on fire and killing Snow. The score is now 9-6. I use Seismic Kick to shoot a goal. Skatha is intervening, so it's just a 1-die kick, but I bonus time it up to 2 and make the shot, winning the game. Final score 12-6. Dissecting this game is tough because the entire flow of the game was dictated by the 2 missed goals. The missed Skatha goal would have changed the game a ton if it had gone in. I think the game as a whole really shows the strength of Alchemists. They just have a higher number of outs that they can play to, allowing you more breathing room to recover from mistakes. But here I would like to pass the question on to you. What were our mistakes this game? Would you have made different decisions during the game? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, it helps other Guild Ball players find this video. Hit the subscribe button to know the moment I upload a new video. And share this video with your other Guild Ball friends. I'm Vincent Curkov, and this has been Run the Length.